Happy Friday. Talking to them. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well.
Just seems so quiet.
Lots on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we'll get started. Thanks for joining us. Like normal, I will try to keep my comments to about 8 minutes or so and then open the floor up for some questions afterwards. Today is the last Friday that I am in the constituency for a period of time. Starting on Monday, we are going back up to Queen's Park. The legislature will be sitting until the end of July. We have put forward a motion to make some changes to the layout of how things will be done. The formal legislative meetings will occur on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for the month of June, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for the month of July. We'll be observing social distancing while we're there at Queen's Park, and there's a motion to change how voting will take place. At present, we've had an agreement with the opposition parties to have proportional representation in the House for bills to be passed. But we've come to a point now where many people want to have as much say in what's going on as possible. They want to be able to have speeches for it, and they want their votes recorded on the record. So the change that we'll be making, we're following a similar process to what the British Parliament is doing. Beside the chamber, we have two rooms, the East Lobby and the West Lobby. When there is a vote, there'll be a 30-minute period for members to come and vote. Those who want to vote in favor of whatever it may be will come into the East Lobby. One of the table clerks will be there, will register their vote at that point, and then the member can leave so that we are always observing social distancing. Those who want to vote against something go to the West Lobby, and there'll be a table clerk there to register their vote. Votes this way will be done as recorded votes so that we'll know which members did vote, which members did not. With respect to, which members voted yes, which members voted no, that we recorded that way. With respect to committees, I am on the Standing Committee of Finance and Economic Affairs, and we are tasked with the Economic Recovery Report for the province. Starting on Monday, we will be meeting Monday through Friday from 8:30 in the morning until 6 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on what we have each day for witnesses. On Monday, we have Minister Rod Phillips coming in to give a bit of a financial update for us. And then we have the Financial Accountability Officer coming Monday, Thursday, and Friday next week. After we've gotten the financial updates, we will be going into 5 different areas for recovery for the province. The first one will be tourism. The second will be culture and heritage. The third will be all around municipalities. The fourth is construction, building, and infrastructure. And the fifth is small and medium enterprises. Each of these areas will take 3 weeks. We'll have presentations from various stakeholders for the 3-week period. And it'll last until September the 22nd. So my committee will be meeting then from June 4th every day until September the 22nd. We have expanded this committee. Typically, there are 12 members on the committee. We have expanded it, and we are adding 7 more members to it. These 7 members will be non-voting members, but it will allow for the proper representation from everybody in the House. We'll add a Liberal member, an independent member, 2 from the Progressive Conservatives, and 3 from the NDP. And we should have then very close to the same proportional representation as what we actually have in the chamber for all of the other votes. This gives more feedback, more opportunity for more members to have input on it. And like I said, the expectation is that we'll be meeting Monday through Friday for the next 16 weeks, 17 weeks. After September the 22nd, we'll go into a report writing phase. It'll take us about 2 to 3 weeks to write the report, and the report should be presented to the ministry or presented to the chamber the 3rd week of October. On top of all of this, I'm on the Amateur Sport Recovery Committee for the province. We are wrapping up our work this week with it. We have completed our first draft of the reports. The final draft will be given to the minister early next week, and it should be incorporated as part of the Culture and Heritage section of the Finance and Economic Affairs Committee meetings. We're looking at what we need to do coming out of COVID-19 for the summer, what we should be doing over the next 12 months as we come out of COVID-19, and then a long-term plan of how do we restore confidence in Ontario, as well as bringing people back to amateur sports over the next 4 to 5 years. It's been an extremely interesting process to go through. We've had a large number of stakeholders who have been involved. We have 122 different provincially recognized sports organizations who have all had input into it. With respect to our committee now, we have also made changes to how we'll be voting because the committee will be meeting virtually. The chair of the committee will be in the committee room at Queen's Park. The clerk for the committee will also be in the room at Queen's Park, but will be more than 6 feet away from the chair. And one other member from either the NDP or one of the independents will be physically there to make sure that they are observing what's happening as well. When we vote, typically a vote in committee, typically a vote in committee is done by a show of hands, or someone can ask for a recorded vote, in which case everyone is named. Because we are going to be on a virtual meeting tool, all of the votes will be done as if they're recorded votes. Each of us will have an opportunity to say aye or nay. If you want to abstain from the vote, you must say as your vote that you are abstaining. That way we know that the technology is working for everyone and that no one is being left out when we record the votes. With the extra members, if technology breaks down for somebody, to maintain the voting integrity, if, for example, my internet connection dropped off and there was a vote coming up, then one of the other PC members would have the ability to vote on my behalf because I am a voting member on that committee. So we're trying very hard to make sure that we're maintaining the integrity of the voting system, maintaining the integrity of the committee system, and maintaining the integrity of the House. We will be meeting, though, until the end of July in the House, and we'll be meeting as a committee until September the 22nd. Because my role with amateur sports is coming to an end, I have been appointed as one of the co-chairs for the Northern Ontario Advisory Council on Economic Recovery and Job Recovery coming out of COVID-19. I'm going to have an extremely busy summer this summer. This is an advisory panel that's made up of industry leaders, of people, different groups who have economic interests in Northern Ontario. There will be forestry industry involved with it. There will be mining industry involved with it. There will be small business involved with it, retail market involved with it. We know that that Northern Ontario has some different challenges than Southern Ontario does. And we want to make sure that we capture all of that as part of the economic recovery. And I'm very proud of the fact that I have been asked to co-chair this committee. With respect to long-term care, the Ontario government has taken over the management of 7 long-term care facilities that had some significant struggles during COVID-19. We will be maintaining the management of it for a number of weeks until we can get all of them back on track. Premier Ford has asked the federal government to allow us to continue using the military here in Ontario where needed for another 30 days. And the last little tidbit that I'm going to give to you is please make sure that you're listening into Premier Ford's press conference at 1 o'clock today. He will be making an announcement with respect to testing, and I think it will be one that most people will want to hear. I'm happy to open up for any questions. Does anyone have any questions? Taylor, go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. Hope you're doing okay.
I am.
That's good to hear. I'm just wondering if you have a response to the overdose deaths that we suffered in Peterborough recently. I know about this time last year, you made commitments for the overdose and treatment center. I'm just wondering where that is right now and if COVID has had an impact on the timeline for that.
So there has been a fair bit of work that has gone into a consumption and treatment site for Peterborough. We've had a couple of proposals put forward to the ministry that have been under review. I can't give a whole lot of details with respect to which organizations put those forward. I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to make an announcement in the near term on that, and I think it's something that a number of people in our community will be very happy to hear. We have some experts who reside here. I'll name one in particular, and that's Peggy Shaughnessy. She has been recognized as an expert on addiction treatment across not just Ontario, but all of Canada, and hasn't received the accolades locally that she likely should receive for the work that she has been doing. There was a bit of a change with PARN, with the executive director moving on to a different position with another organization and a new executive director coming in. There have been some conversations with PARN as well as a couple of other organizations on how we should be looking at moving forward. One of the challenges that we have had moving through this entire process is finding the appropriate location for it to be put and to make sure that we had a focus on treatment. Treatment is going to be the key for anything that is done with the opioid crisis. There needs to be less of a focus on consumption and injections and more focus on treatment. People get well through treatment. They don't get well by continuing to get high. We think we have a possible location now. It's a matter of doing the due diligence on that. And as more progresses, there'll be more announcements that are made. But again, our biggest challenge throughout this entire process has been finding a willing landlord to work with us.
Has COVID had any impact on the development or the process for the selection of a site?
Finding a willing landlord has been the biggest challenge. It wouldn't matter what else was going on. If we didn't have a willing landlord, we were not going to have a treatment site.
Last question, but do you think there might be a site up and running before the end of the year?
All I can say on it, Taylor, is that we have to have a landlord who is willing to work with us. We have to have a location that meets the requirements in terms of distance from schools, from other public locations, and our biggest challenge is finding that appropriate location and having a landlord that is going to work with us.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I have one?
Sure, Lois, go ahead.
So you said you're part of you're co-chairing the Northern Ontario Job Recovery Council.
Yes.
Are we Northern Ontario, or are we Central Ontario, or are we Eastern Ontario in the magic puzzle?
We are the north of the south, or the south of the north. We kind of fall in that no land area. The reason why I'm co-chairing it is I'm the parliamentary assistant to Northern Development, Mines, Energy, and Indigenous Affairs, and this will touch on obviously Northern Development. It'll touch on the mining industry. It'll touch on energy and Indigenous Affairs, and so it made logical sense for me as the parliamentary assistant to all of those ministries to be heavily involved with it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How do we find you while you're sitting in committee all summer?
You can always come through my office at here in Peterborough. The phone number here is 705-742-3777. I will be available in the evenings. I will be available at lunch. I will be available in between committee meetings. Sometimes, although we're tentatively scheduled right now for 8:30 till 6 o'clock, it will depend on the availability of the witnesses that are coming in to testify. So we may be starting at 10 o'clock one day. We may be starting at 8:30 one day. We might be finished at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We may actually be going on into the evening for 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night. It's all going to depend on the availability of those who are coming to give us the information. Any company that is in recovery mode right now, I'm sure that they are not going to want to present during the day when they're trying to keep the business running. So we'll make accommodations for them, and we'll meet in the evening if that works for their schedule. And we may have days where we start at 8:30, we go straight through until 6 o'clock, or possibly even later on into the evening. And then we'll have another day where we may only have 1 or 2 people who are available that day. So it's really going to be a mixed bag of how long I'll be sitting in committee each day.
Okay.
And I am available weekends. I do work weekends too. Any other questions? All right. I don't see anyone else, so thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and we will be in touch again soon. Thanks, guys.